Namaste. This is the fifth part I'm making in the series on karmic relationships. In case you have not watched the first four parts, I'll post a link to that in the description box below. Please watch those videos before you watch this for better understanding. In today's video, I'll be talking about narcissistic parents in general, the effect a narcissistic father has over the Pingala Nadi in our body, and the effect narcissistic ancestors or deceased ancestors have over us while we are undergoing the spiritual awakening process. Normal people find happiness in small things in life: spending festivals with family and friends, going out, traveling, maybe buying something, watching a movie, or gardening, or taking care of animals, or pursuing their hobbies and interests, following their passions. This creates a lot of happiness in the person. When we are happy, we release the hormone called dopamine in our body. But for a narcissist, they do not find happiness in such things. They see no value in such things because it does not make them happy. They only feel happy when they are controlling people, abusing people, when they feel superior to others, when they feel that the other person is totally under their control and they have no other go, they're totally dependent on them. That is when the narcissistic person really feels a lot of dopamine getting released in his body. He feels happy that he has total power in the situation and the other person is helpless and dependent on him and is at his mercy. This gives a lot of pleasure, a kind of very animalistic pleasure. That is why the narcissist is constantly looking out for people who he can take advantage of, whom he can abuse, whom he can use. When he does all these things, he feels very happy, he or she. For example, if there is a person who has more sattvic qualities, when he sees a very beautiful blooming rose, he will admire the beauty of the rose. He will water the plant so that the flower looks fresh the next day too. And he leaves. This he does selflessly. If there's a Rajasic person and he looks at the rose, he admires the beauty of the rose. He wants to possess it. So he may pluck the rose and use it as a decoration in his house, or he may use it as part of a bouquet, or he may also water the rose so that the rose will look more beautiful and it will add to the beauty of his house. So there's a little selfishness in this act. Then comes the tamasic person. The tamasic person, when he sees a very beautiful rose, he goes to the rose, he plucks the rose, and he crumples that rose in his hand. That beauty of the rose disturbs him inside. He enjoys the sight of the beauty, but something within him wants to destroy that beauty, that happiness of the rose. Then he throws the rose on the ground and it tramples all over it, and he destroys the flower totally. This is what a narcissist does. Narcissist or a sociopath, psychopath, they enjoy destroying people. They enjoy destroying the spirit that is there in people. They do this by taking control over others' lives, by taking away their freedom, their finances, their intelligence, their spirit, inner spirit. They want to totally suck it out of them. That is what a narcissist does. He destroys lives. Especially narcissists, when they are parents, they have a very destructive effect on their kids because the kids are totally at the mercy of the parents. Now, narcissism too has degrees. They are people who are narcissists and they are aware that they have this narcissistic tendency, so they try to control themselves to some extent. And the other of the end of the spectrum, you have people who are very narcissistic and they do nothing to control their basic animal instincts. They take total pleasure in destroying others. They see nothing wrong in what they are doing. Generally, when narcissistic parents are there, either of the parent can be narcissist or both the parents can be narcissists. When both the parents are narcissists, it's very difficult for them to stay under one roof. There will be constant fightings, constant competition going on between the husband and wife, and the environment in the house will not be conducive for upbringing of uh, healthy, normal children. When either of the parent is a narcissist, the other partner who's not a narcissist will not stand up for the kids' rights. They will not control the narcissist. They will not confront the narcissist because they have to stay in the marriage and they have to make peace with the narcissist. So they stay out of the scene when the narcissist is being unjust or is abusing the child. Or they may even enable the narcissist to continue that behavior in the guise of disciplining the child or controlling the child. The child is at the total mercy of the narcissist. So, when the father is a narcissist and when he is abusing the child regularly, the mother might at the most make pleas to the father not to beat the child, not to be abusive, but she will not take any bigger actions than that to protect the child. Later on, when the child grows up and the child is trying to uh, rebel against the father, she will try to quieten the child, saying that she should not go against his father, even though the father is being unjust towards him. In the same way, when the mother is a narcissist, the father does not stand up for the child. He will rather enable the mother and support the mother when the mother is being unjust towards the child. And he will do this in the pretext of being a disciplinarian because otherwise his wife will not respect him. So he does that for that reason. So either ways, the home is not conducive for a healthy upbringing of children. Generally, when there's a narcissist in a particular home or particular place, the environment in general is negative. Every small thing is used to create a drama. Relationships are bad. They generally have addictions. They're irresponsible. They're cruel. They take advantage of situation and take advantage of people. They're takers. They lie. They manipulate. They're abusive. They will tell you many stories which make them look like a victim. Everybody in this world is bad. Their attitude towards life and people around is that everybody is bad. Everything is bad. So they will tell you a lot of sobbing stories about how their parents trouble them, how their neighbors trouble them, how their relatives bother them, how their boss is punishing them. And they think they alone are good in this world and everybody else is bad. Even their spouse is bad, even children are bad. In a home where there is a narcissist, there'll be a lot of verbal and physical abuse going around. They will use shame, guilt, emotional blackmailing to control people. They trigger people unnecessarily. They cause trauma. There's a lot of trauma bonding that is happening between the parent and child. In a normal family, there is a healthy love bonding that goes on between a normal parent and the child. But whereas in a narcissistic relationship with the child, there's a lot of trauma bonding going on. That is, the father or the mother, they bond with the child through the trauma or pain or through a lot of abuse. Now, this kind of bonding is very difficult to overcome. When a person is brought up in a healthy environment by mentally healthy parents, when he grows up, he knows his potential, he understands himself very well. The self awareness level is very high because parents have helped him in understanding his potential. They have encouraged him on the right path They've understood the skills he has, and they have stood by him, and he has a better understanding of life. He has a supportive environment, and his self-awareness levels are very high. For this reason, the initial foundation required for a successful life is already laid. But when the kids are brought up in narcissistic homes, the parents have not allowed the child to understand himself. The child is already labeled as bad by the parents, because if the child is not uh, bad, then they cannot abuse the child. So, first, they brand the child as a bad person. They assign motives to the child. And because the child is bad and the child has motives, now they can punish the child. When the child grows up in such an environment, he does not understand his abilities, his potential. He does not understand himself because of all this trauma that is happening in his life, all this negativity that is there in his life. He is caught up in this lower emotional states. So the child grows up with heavy emotions, and these heavy emotions do not allow the person to look at life with a healthy perspective. These negative, heavy emotions do not allow a person to take a balanced view of life. The person's self awareness levels are very low. And to start a life, the foundation that is required, the proper foundation, has not been laid by the parents. The child is not self aware. His understanding of the external world is limited to what his parents have told him. And because a narcissistic parent cuts away uh, relatives, they do not want their kids to have friends. These children are brought up in very abusive environments where they don't have friends or relatives. So their interpersonal relationships and their intrapersonal management is also poor. A narcissist cannot bear to see the other person being present in the moment, happy, joyful, smiling, enjoying what they are doing, or relaxing, expressing higher states of happiness and joy. This is not understandable to a narcissist. They basically see this as a loss of their power or loss of their control. And especially when they see their child being very happy or happily playing around, they cannot tolerate it. For them, it is loss of control over the child. So they immediately do something to make the child unhappy or angry, or they make the child cry or abuse the child, so that the child goes down to lower emotional states like pain, or the child is not depressed, he is crying. That is when they feel the dopamine getting released in their body. Now they have control over the child. This is how they typically operate in all the relationships, not only just with children, but even with their spouse, with people who they see as being lower to them in status. This is how they treat all of them. Say in a house, uh, they are both the parents are narcissists, and generally the offspring being narcissist is high when the parents are narcissists. Say these parents have about 3 children, out of which 2 are narcissists. Now there are 4 members in the house who are narcissists, and there's one gentle, sattvic natured person born in that house. Now, all 4 will start bullying this one gentle person, because even though he belongs to that family, he does not have the attributes that other members in the family have. He does not have that kind of narcissistic traits. He does not display those traits, and he is a gentle and a kind person. So, this kind person will get bullied by everybody in the house, and he will be told that he is weird and he is not normal. And the child grows up thinking that he's weird and not normal until much later in life when he realizes that he is normal and not his family. Narcissistic parents pitch one child against another child. They cause unnecessary relationship issues between their own children. They treat one child superior to another child. They punish one child for the mischief caused by another child. They do not treat them properly or on equal stand, because of which when the children grow up, they have a lot of grudges against each other. The environment in general does not create close family ties or close family bonds between the children. The children have no rights. They only have to comply with whatever the parents tell them. They do not get to bargain to. If they do not listen, they get punished. The narcissistic parent holds grudges against the child when the child does not follow what they are told to do. Even when the child grows up into an adult, the narcissistic parent still tries to control the life of the child. Otherwise, they will start emotionally abusing their child or separating the child from the family. The narcissistic child, he gets used to an environment of chaos and a very aggressive environment at home. It becomes normal for the child to live in such an environment, because of which later on in life, when they are caught up in such environments, they think it is normal and they do not try to move out of those environments. They do not understand how these environments are affecting them internally. They have got used to getting abused and they do not understand that they're getting abused or that they are in an abusive environment. Narcissistic parents do not like to invest in the overall development of the child. They see it as waste of money or time. They will only do it if they see some benefit for themselves in it or if their image will improve because of it. So the child will not be allowed to join any additional courses or read any additional books or develop any additional skills because the narcissistic parent thinks of this as waste of money. Generally, narcissistic parents, when they get any wealth in inheritance, they use up all that wealth for their uh, addictions. And narcissists have many addictions in general. They can have addiction for buying new things. They can have addiction for alcohol, drugs. They may have many affairs. They may gamble. So they can have many different kinds of addictions. And narcissists are basically impulsive. They waste money. They use up all the money uh, that belongs to the family and is supposed to get transferred to the children. They use up all that money. They use up their own income. They waste it. So when the child needs some extra money for some educational course of to learn something, the parent never has money for it. Apart from this, the narcissists, because of their nature, their ways, they are not liked by people around them in the neighborhood or place of work. Nobody wants to deal with them, and they're basically seen as bad people. They have a bad reputation. This reputation has an effect on the child too, because the parent is seen as bad. In general, the public thinks that the son or the daughter is also as bad as their parent. So they inherit this bad name from their parents. Because of their parents' habits and because of their narcissistic tendencies, the child will lose out on relationships and genuine friends. And moreover, what the parents do is when they want to punish the child, they publicly ridicule the child over all his shortcomings. And they go around telling their neighbors, their colleagues, their relatives that the child is a bad person. They assign motives to their own children and they shame their children in public. So when the child grows up, he is already branded as a bad person. So because of which now he does not have good people in his life as friends or relatives. There is a lot of emotional baggage over the child because of all the trauma he has suffered. Apart from that, narcissism, sociopathy, psychopathy, these are all genetically transferable. The pain and trauma that our ancestors have experienced or suffered gets stored in our DNA. And the more of such lower emotions get stored in our DNA or become part of our DNA, the DNA strands break up. There's a lot of junk DNA or bad DNA now. So this bad DNA is not transferred to the son or the daughter. Their DNA has a lot of karmic baggage. This is another burden that is there on the child now. The child, apart from this, does not know his potential. His good qualities are not encouraged in a narcissistic environment. Narcissists basically only respect power. They respect the person who puts fear in them. They respect money, success. It's all about building an image for the external world. Narcissists live for creating good image for the external world. They do not find value in things like devotion, being thankful, being peaceful, being happy, doing good to others. All these things are of no value for a narcissist. So, none of these qualities are encouraged in the child. And if the child is inherently good person, then the narcissist will make fun of the child and make him look like a fool or a stupid person. The child is always misunderstood by his parents, and the child, no matter how much he tries to convince his parents that he is not a bad person, the parents still want to see him as a bad person. And especially when the person is a psychopath, many people who have psychopathic tendencies generally end up as criminals in prisons. So when the child is having a father who's a psychopath and who's a criminal, now he has additional baggage of this father's bad reputation affecting him in the future. He will be called the son of a murderer or maybe a son of a thief, especially in those cultures where the families know each other for many generations. In a narcissistic family setup, the basic needs of the child are not met, and the basic needs are considered luxury. The parents think that when they're providing 2 meals a day, they're doing a big favor on the child, even when they are financially well off. The other type of narcissistic parents are the ones who have a lot of dreams for themselves and they could not fulfill their dreams or desires. So now they want their children to fulfill their dreams or their desires. So they put unnecessary pressure on the child to live up to their expectations. No matter what the child does, they're always disappointed. And when the child does not give in to their pressure, they start shaming the child, they start ridiculing the child. Some even go to the extent of disowning their children or discrediting their children. The child is supposed to live under the authority and direction of the parents all his life. When a child, after reaching adulthood, realizes that he or she is being narcissistically abused by their parents, wish to be treated normally and healthily. They demand this from these parents, and when they tell their parents that they did not treat them properly and that hereafter they have to treat them properly, immediately a narcissistic parent will break up all ties with his child. Because a narcissistic parent's relationship with child is either need based or they need the power over the child to abuse the child. When these two aspects are missing, the child is of no value to the parent. So immediately the family disowns him or discards the child. The child has to additionally deal with the pain of getting alienated from his family. Other type of narcissistic parents are the ones who live a very superficial life. They live a life for basic physical pleasures, or they just get on with life with having no big goals, with having no big meaning in their life. When the child grows up, he does not understand the meaning of life. He has many questions as to what life means, what living means, what he is achieving as a human on earth, and what is the whole experience of being a human being is? Everybody has such questions, but this child will have many of such questions popping in his mind because he has understood that his parents have lived a very superficial life, a life just to eat, work, and sleep, and nothing beyond that. Whatever the style of narcissistic parenting can be, it affects the child in a negative manner. A narcissistic parent can never encourage the child to connect with his authentic self, to express himself honestly, to follow his passion, his goals, to live life as per his own ethics and values. Children who are brought up in negative environments with narcissistic parents, they take on certain types of attitudes, behaviors to cope with those situations. Later on in life, they are consciously and unconsciously influenced by their coping strategies and the behaviors which they exhibit later on. They find their roots in these kinds of coping strategies which they used to survive in an aggressive environment. All these behavioral patterns which are dysfunctional, which are unhealthy, they do not allow us to express our authentic self. And on the spiritual path, these kinds of attitudes or behaviors, they become a hindrance for our spiritual growth. So the child has to now, once he's reached adulthood, has to look within, see what behaviors within him or within her are stemming from the fact that they were abused as a child, and understand that these behaviors were taken on by them to cope in that kind of aggressive environment. But they do not need those behaviors now in their life. They need to evaluate what behaviors are there within themselves which are dysfunctional, which are not allowing them to see their truth, or which are not allowing them to have a healthy perspective on the external environment. Now I'll talk about the effect a father has over the Pingala Nadi. You look at the image here, you will see three main channels that move along the spine: the Ida Nadi on the left, the Pingala Nadi on the right, and the central Sushumna Nadi. The Ida and Pingala Nadi, they crisscross each other at the chakra points and they finally meet here at the Agya Chakra. The Pingala Nadi, which starts on the right hand side and ends here on the right side here, is the fiery channel. It is the solar channel. This channel represents the father and the relatives on the father's side. So when somebody has a narcissistic father, the pranic force in the Pingala Nadi does not flow properly. A lot of blockages. And these blockages, they lead to certain kinds of behaviors that are exhibited by the child when he or she reaches adulthood. When I mean a narcissistic father, I mean a father who does not take responsibility for upbringing the child, a father who has left the child, a father whose too much addictions have taken over him and he has no interest in the family or is neglected his wife and children. A narcissistic father can be a father who is too lazy to work. He does not go out to work and he is not bothered whether his child has had a meal or not. He does not provide for the family or for the child's education or for other basic needs of the child are not met here. He is a bad influence on the child. He encourages the child to uh, go on to the wrong path. He exposes the child to unnecessary harm, uh, unnecessary threatening situations. He abuses the child physically, mentally. He shames the child, ridicules the child. He does not encourage the child to uh, pursue his interests or his passions. Rather, he tells the child that he is good for nothing. or he will grow up to be nothing. A narcissistic father can even put unnecessary pressure on the child to build his image. He will put extra pressure on the child to succeed. Or a narcissistic parent may even be overly protective of the child, so protective of the child that he will not allow the child to grow, to look at life, and to experience life from his point of view. Basically, narcissistic parents live a very shallow life. For that reason, they look at their family, the children also, with that kind of a view or mindset. And their relationships are also very artificial and shallow. This affects the child at every level. The base chakra is the Muladhara chakra. The dominant emotion here is fear. So when somebody feels threatened, the fight and flight mechanism gets triggered in the body. And the third response, which is the freeze response. When the energy on the left hand side, that is the Ida Nadi side, the mother's side, it does not flow properly, then the person freezes in such a threatening situation. You will see people who are frozen with fear when they are in threatening situations. That is because of the energy not flowing properly on the Ida side. But if in the Pingala side, the energy does not flow properly, the person will either fight or he will run away. That is flight. The flight and fight mechanism gets unnecessarily triggering in this person because he sees most situations as threatening. He feels insecure. He experiences a lot of fear, especially the fear of death. When his father was abusing him physically or beating him, he experienced that fear of death. He had to tell himself that he will survive. He will see the next day. And that fear of getting beaten by the father, the fear of death was excessively experienced by this child in his early days. And the fear has become part of his system. And whenever he gets triggered, that fear of death comes to surface. Because of that fear of death or the fear of physical harm, he is unnecessarily aggressive. He sees most situations as being potentially threatening to him, and to protect himself, he is the first person to attack the other person. He gets into unnecessary fights. There's a lot of drama that goes on in his life. He is unnecessarily cruel to people, unkind to people. He does all this because he's insecure inside. He worries for his safety. And this is the kind of coping mechanism he has taken on. They do not even admit their mistakes or shortcomings because they fear that they will be shamed and ridiculed for it. They worry over their safety. They are the kind who will take unnecessary insurances. They will have guns, if possible, at home for personal safety. They do not trust anybody. They are very stingy too. They feel very insecure. And money is also a part of Muladhara chakra. So they are not generous. They're very stingy because their basic needs were not met. This fear of the basic needs not being met and that they may need money in future to take care of their basic needs, that fear sticks on with them. And for that reason, they are stingy. They never trusted that their father could provide for them. And that lack of trust on their parent makes them stingy. The father could not provide for their safety or he put him into unnecessary risk situations. That is why even in adulthood, they worry over their safety, or they will be physically harmed, or maybe they will be emotionally harmed. Further, in Muladhara Chakra, if the energy is not flowing properly, the person does not feel grounded. There's a sense of deep unhappiness in the person. He is not happy in the particular situation, or maybe he is not happy with his own body or the gender he is born in, the way he looks, the way his living situation is, the way his working situation is. A lot of these dissatisfactions that a person experiences, they come when the energy flow in Muladhara chakra is not proper. The next chakra is the Swadhisthana chakra, and this chakra links us to our sexual center. This is our pleasure center. When the energy is not flowing properly on the Pingala side here, the person will not have an correct attitude about the opposite sex. If it is a man, he will see woman as being somebody lesser than him. The woman can be used and abused. He will have a lot of one night stands. He will not feel responsible towards his partner. He will have many affairs outside marriage. He will easily lie, cheat, and manipulate his wife. He thinks he can control his wife or his partner. He will see woman as a sexual object, and he will not respect her for her intelligence. He is a misogynist. And if it is a woman too cannot form a proper bond with a man. She will see the man as an ATM machine who will provide her for her luxuries, or she may have many relationships, shallow relationships with men, because she does not respect or trust men. The predominant emotion that is there in Swadhisthana chakra is envy or jealousy. So this person does not trust their partner, and they get jealous. Both the man and woman, they get jealous when their partners talk to somebody else. They are constantly uh, worried that their partner will cheat over them. They cannot have an open communication or an open trust in their relationships. The women too will see themselves as victims. Both misogynists and feminists look at the opposite gender with a sense of lack of trust and respect. That comes when the energy is not flowing properly in the Pingala Nadi side. Apart from this, this center controls our desires. So the desires now are not controlled because the energy flow is not proper here. So people have cravings, pleasure cravings, or they can be cravings for drugs or alcohol or eating cravings. They have certain addictions in their life and they do not know where to stop. Some keep on gambling and they do not know where to stop gambling, because of which they get into a lot of problems. Some do not know that how to, and some go on gossiping non-stop. They only speak bad about others. They only see bad in others. That is because the Pingala Nadi here is not flowing properly. Many bad sexual behaviors like stalking, molesting, rapes, many other sexual crimes which happen. These happen when the energy flow is not there properly on the Pingala side, because this person becomes a perpetrator of the sexual crime. Even like crimes like human trafficking and other sexual crimes that happen. Apart from this, when the energy does not flow properly here, the person can also display himself or herself as an object of attraction to the opposite sex. There are some people who want to look overtly attractive to the opposite sex, so they go to the extent of posting very provocative photographs of themselves online. They unnecessarily show off their sexual side and they try to attract the opposite gender's attention as much as possible. And when the attention comes onto them, they are very happy. They feel that their image has grown. They feel this rush of adrenaline pumping through their body. This happens because they've been shamed as a child by their parents, or their need to establish themselves as a sexually attractive person is connected to their self worth as a human being. For that reason, they display such kinds of behavior. The next chakra is the Manipura chakra, and the dominant emotion here is anger. When, as a child, they had narcissistic parents, a lot of anger is repressed in the child. That repressed anger, it comes out in many different ways when they come into adulthood. And if the energy is not flowing properly on the Pingala Nadi side in the Manipura area, they can become very greedy. They don't take responsibility for their actions. They like to play the blame game. They want to be controlling, they want to be critical, because that is what they saw their parents doing it, especially their father doing. So they think that that is how you have to behave. They bully others, they exploit others, they're very judgmental, they're very critical, uh, very confrontational and bad behavior. They are a high conflict person. They only respect power, and they only understand fear. They're always in competition with others, they're always comparing themselves with others. A person's social life comes in Manipura Chakra. So, in every situation, they start analyzing where they fit in the hierarchy and where the other person fits in the hierarchy. So, there's a constant competition going on here. And because their father told them that they are good for nothing, that they cannot achieve anything in life, or their father saw them as some uh, stupid person, these people have a high drive to achieve. They want to prove themselves. They want rewards, they want awards, they want to earn a lot of money to show their father that they are worth something. That ridicule which they've experienced as a child now has become a fuel for their ambition to succeed and to make a lot of money, make a lot of fame. For this, they set very high goals. They push others to work. They can exploit the people who are working under them. They are very arrogant. They grab opportunities which belong to others. They don't care for what others think, and they seek a lot of adulation. Everybody who's there in their life has to put them on a high pedestal. And if they don't do that, they get angry. Their need for success, need to be in limelight is very high. When they don't get the same adulation from their friends and family, they start resenting them, because of which they again have a lot of relationship issues, both men and women. They are always in competition with the other person. They can never collaborate with the other person. They always try to create win lose situations. That is, win situation for themselves and a lose situation for the other person. They do not understand that they have to create a win win situation. If it is a man, he would like to marry somebody who is lesser than him in hierarchy, so that he has total control over the woman, and the woman will not speak against him. He can use and abuse her. If it is a woman, she will like somebody who is lesser than her in hierarchy. That is, the man should not assert himself when he is her partner. She will use her status, her money to constantly put down her husband and tell her husband that he is not worth her. So these people cannot have a proper relationship with within marriage, and even with people in general in their life. The next chakra is Anahata chakra. Anahata chakra is all about give and take. This is the center where you feel love, where you feel a lot of positive emotion, devotion, gratitude. They all come from the Anahata chakra. So when the energy is not flowing properly on the Pingala side in the Anahata chakra, this person will have very high ideals, but he does not follow through his ideals. The ideals are for others and not for him. When he does something wrong, he does not take responsibility for his actions. He always shifts the blame onto somebody else. They cannot see their flaws, they do not want to see their truth, They live a very shallow life. They're very cold hearted. They do not care for others' needs. They're very insensitive, lazy. They do not understand others, or they make no effort to understand people in relationships. They have no gratitude for somebody who's done good for them. They are cut off from their emotions. They do not feel love the way a normal person feels. And they're not giving to. They cannot give in form of uh, material or in form of effort or time. They cannot give to others or even kind words. They put their needs first. They're like a child who is crying and wailing for milk. So they do not care about how their demand for their needs affects others' health. They're immature and they're not able to see others' point of view. They cannot empathize also. And they live their life depending on their immediate relatives. They feel entitled for and they feel that others around them should support them and take care of them. They are takers and they have no respect for the people who are nurturing them or loving them. They do not want to do their duties. They just want to live life sponging off others. So this is what typically happens when the person uh, has no improper flow of the energy through Pingala Nadi and Anhata Chakra. Their father was not a giving kind. The father could have been lazy. So the person saw all this while he was growing and he realized that he will get more from others when he is cold hearted and lazy. If he is sensitive, good person, he may have to put an extra effort to give to others. So he does not want to give to others. The child did not feel the love of parent and the nurturing of the parent, because of which they have become cold hearted and they do not understand or value such things in their life. They live life from a very shallow perspective and they do not understand that uh, there are deeper layers to life, and to experience life at the deepest level we need to plunge deeper within. They do not get this point. The next chakra is the Vishuddha chakra. Yeah. When this chakra works properly, the person expresses his authentic self. But when there are blockages on the Pingala Nadi side, the person is basically a closed system. He isolates himself, he separates himself from others. His ideas are very concrete. He does not change his ideas easily. He does not trust. He is very suspicious of others who do not subscribe to his view, or in general, he is suspicious of others. He does not respond to communication and he withholds lot of information. He does not express himself properly. When the energy is not flowing properly in the Pingala Nadi side in Vishuddha Chakra, the voice of this person will not be gentle or soothing. The person will be unresponsive to external events. He will even reject his inner life as a fantasy. He does not believe in uh, continuing a spiritual practice. He's skeptical about it because he does not believe that there's an inner spiritual journey that has to be undertaken for under or the spiritual awakening process. They have not received proper nurturing and love from their parents, so they feel unworthy of love. In future, when the person gets married and the person has a loving husband or a loving wife, they are not able to receive that love from their spouse. They reject that love because they feel that this love will take away from them their personal identity. these people like to define themselves as loners. They reject everybody. They have a big personal bubble around them. And when somebody gets too close to them, even their partner, uh, a loving partner comes close, they feel threatened. Their sense of identity as being a loner or the sense of being engulfed by their partner is very high in this person. So they prefer to stay away from emotions, from any kind of admiration, from any kind of inspiration, because when the energy does not flow properly here, the person is cut off from creativity and higher intuition also, and higher wisdom also. So this person cannot uh, pursue any creative arts, and he does not have the inherent ability to receive things in his life, even the good things. So he cannot appreciate life for the good things it offers. The next chakra is the Agya chakra, and when the energy does not flow properly in the Pingala Nadi here, the person is intelligent but he is very scheming. He uses his intelligence for wrong reasons. He can plan things way ahead. He has many prejudices and biases, and any information which is contrary to that is rejected by this person. Any advice which is contrary to his thoughts is rejected. When somebody advises them keeping their best interests at their heart, and if that advice is contrary to their goals or to their belief or to their prejudices, they reject those advices and they see that person as their enemy. These people have many skewed philosophies towards life, and most of their focus is on the lower chakras, the desires, the animal instincts that are stored in the lower three chakras. So they use their intelligence towards the lower three chakras, and they reject their ability to grow as a person. They do not believe in finding meaning to life, and whatever intelligence they gain, whatever power they gain, it is always used for wrong reasons, even occult powers. And they do not see any big meaning in pursuing a spiritual life or a spiritual goal because they do not see meaning in life as such. They think they are inconquerable, they are right in every situation, they are overconfident. After balancing all the six chakras, the biggest hurdle a person will face is self hatred. There is an inner narcissist within us. The inner narcissist is more difficult to overcome than the external narcissist. You can keep an external narcissist out of your life by not contacting them, by not talking to them, by avoiding their presence in your life. But this inner narcissist, which exists within you, who's constantly telling you that you're not good enough, you're not lovable, you're not worthy enough, this inner narcissist is always trying to put you down. The inner narcissist always is trying to suck away your power. This inner voice is telling you that you will never succeed in your spiritual pursuits. This inner narcissist is the last hurdle you will have to overcome. And this self hatred stems from many different lifetimes of karmic impressions, the vasanas, that is, the tendencies, because a person's behavior is not based on just the parents of this lifetime. There are many lifetimes which you have lived, and we take on many different karmas, many different mental impressions and tendencies from our past lifetimes. That too spills over, and we have to deal with all that when we are on the spiritual path. So at this stage you will have to deal with your inner narcissist, the inner voice which is constantly putting you down, the inner voice which is hating you, that is, you are not a friend to your soul. The voice inside is constantly attacking you, it is threatening you, it is bullying you. This happens much later in the spiritual journey, that especially when the Kundalini Shakti moves up into the head area, upper chakras, that is when you overcome the inner narcissist or the inner self-hatred. When Kundalini Shakti is rising up your spine and she clears away most of the unnecessary baggage or debris in your lower three chakras and she's moving up your spine, you will start experiencing a lot of pleasant, small level siddhis in your life, like the ability to manifest small things, the ability to feel happy, experience inner peace, glimpses of other things that you were not aware of earlier. So many of these minor siddhis start manifesting in your life. You should not use this power for external uh, situations. If you do that, the energy gets released into the external environment and your progress gets stunted. So you should not use these powers and you should allow your inner spiritual energy to push the Kundalini Shakti up your central channel. It should rise up and go into your crown area. When once Kundalini Shakti crosses the third chakra, you will come out of most of your personal conditioning, your societal, cultural conditioning, and your family conditioning. This is when you may have experiences with few of your dead ancestors. Your dead ancestors will know that you have undergone a Kundalini awakening and they will try to use your spiritual energy for their gain. If there is a dead ancestor who's not moved on to the other astral planes but has stayed back on earth for some reason, they can attach themselves to your chakra and they will siphon off your spiritual energy. You will get to know about these uh, dead ancestors who are siphoning away your energy once Kundalini Shakti crosses the third chakra, and you will get to know this through dreams. That is when you have to tell your ancestor that they need to leave and ask them if they need something and the reason for staying back, if they have any wishes, fulfill their wishes and ask them to leave. They will leave. That way you will save your energy. Next, there are other category of dead ancestors. They might come in your dream with special requests. Say, for example, you had an uncle who was very attached to his sons. He is no longer there, but he knows that you have undergone a spiritual awakening and now you can manifest things. So he wants to use your spiritual energy for his sons. His sons are grown up and they're not doing much worthy in life. So he wants to use your energy to manifest things in his sons' lives. He knows that this will affect your spiritual growth, it might get stunted, but he will not tell you this. Instead, he may request you to use your spiritual powers to manifest things for his sons. When you get such requests from your dead ancestors, please understand you have to reject them. Ask them to leave and not to bother you in the future. You will not agree to their requests. Apart from that, you will have other ancestors who might come in your dream and ask you for help. They're in the astral world and they may have pains in different parts of their astral body. And they might come up with a request for you to cure them. Such requests can be allowed, but you should ask them to wait till you have completed your spiritual journey. That is, the energy should not get wasted trying to help your dead ancestors. You should allow the energy to complete the process. And after the process is complete, that is when you can help those of your dead ancestors who have come to you asking for help to repair their astral body. In today's video, I spoke about narcissistic parents in general, the effect a narcissistic father can have over a child, and the different coping strategies a child may adopt, which later on become behavioral patterns or dysfunctional patterns, which limit the child's ability to express his or her authentic self. Apart from that, I even spoke about narcissistic ancestors who will try to siphon away your spiritual energy. Thank you.